Welcome to the eCom Collab Club Podcast, where e-commerce founders and operators share the mistakes that drained their cash, wasted their time, and nearly broke their brains, so you could avoid that pain.
Fucking great. No one ever listens to me.
Hosted by Adam Pearce, co-founder of the eCom Collab Club, and Blend Commerce, the Shopify CRO agency.
So guys, welcome to today's eCom Collab Club podcast. And today's guest is Georgie Gough, the founder of Motherfungi. Now, like many great businesses, Motherfungi wasn't really born from a business plan, but it started with a personal problem. Now, after experiencing severe burnout and anxiety in her early 30s, Georgie began searching for a way to support her energy, focus, and general well-being without relying on caffeine. And that journey led her deep into the world of functional mushrooms, where she quickly discovered a market full of confusing products, underdosed ingredients, and complicated routines. Now, rather than settling for what was available, she spent years studying the category, completing a mycology diploma, working with industry experts, and redefining a product she genuinely wanted to use herself. And the result was Motherfungi, a simple, caffeine-free functional mushroom blend designed to fit seamlessly into people's everyday routines. Now, what makes the story even more remarkable is how quickly the brand gained momentum, moving from launch to retail shelves in just 21 days. Now, today, we're going to be diving into the realities of launching a wellness brand in a crowded market, building credibility in an emerging category, and what founders can learn from turning a personal challenge into a fast-growing business. And we're going to welcome Georgie to the show right after this.
I would love to help you with a free 15-minute session to talk about you and your space and help you out.
While you're building your audience, High Level is building your business behind the scenes.
I would love to help you with a free 15-minute session.
Because when your audience grows, so do the messages. While you're creating, High Level's conversation AI keeps every new lead moving. The moment a follower reaches out, conversation AI is already responding, trained to know the details of your business, with your tone and style built in. Whether it's text messages, Instagram DMs, or even WhatsApp, Conversation AI learns your business, answers questions, and books appointments automatically. Let Conversation AI handle the day-to-day, so you have more time to be you.
Visit gohighlevel.com/ecom collab club for an extended free trial.
So Georgie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. I mean, look, there is so much that I want to ask you because, look, your product is an area that personally, look, I'm very interested in myself. And I think particularly with kind of, you know, the way the business started is also quite close to my heart, which regular listeners will sort of know about. But I think what I wanted to do to sort of start off is to sort of dive straight into it, really, because I mentioned, obviously, in the intro there that there was that sort of 21-day point that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through then what sort of happened in that 21 days that made retailers actually notice you really, really quickly?
Yeah, well, I feel like the Holy Trinity came together in the sense that it wasn't this big launch plan. I just suddenly had the product, the website finished, and I was ready to go. All the social handles were done. I'd had a content shoot, very lo-fi, roped in lots of friends from my career to help me with that. And yeah, I just suddenly pressed the button and was like, let's do it. I've been developing it for over 3 years. There's no time like the present. And I think the more you procrastinate about a launch plan or a teaser or all of those things, you could push timelines out by 6 months. It's never going to be perfect. And you've got to just get going. So I decided to take the plunge, do it, launch the site. And then, of course, you know, you get your wave of family and friends buying it. But my initial instinct was to get out there and hit the streets basically with a whole bag of pouches. And my strategy was, I live in London, have done for the last 15 years, but I'm from Norwich originally. So my strategy was to go home and build local, build engaged community and find my customers and essentially proof of concept, because the business is still only 4 months old. This is the first batch of product. So I went door to door to small independents who I felt had synergy with the brand, either from kind of like an attitude point of view, their branding was similar, but also from either a wellness space like yoga studios, cafes that were selling matcha coffees, or, you know, adaptogen juice drinks, or anything that felt in my world. But also specialist retailers, health shops, everywhere that I felt that there could be some kind of connection and I could find my potential customer base, I went and knocked on the door. And I felt like that was the best start that I could have had, because speaking one-to-one with business owners, founders, who build and love their own business, also want to support local. So essentially I am, or was, a local in Norwich. So I felt like that human connection and being able to speak to them personally and tell them the story and physically drop off a pouch and say, hey, I know I've just rocked up. I know you weren't expecting to see me today, but please, here's a pouch, try the product. Let me know what you think. And if you think it might work for your business. And we're at 7 stockists now. And that's across juice bars, cafes, department store, retailers, and like a specialist health shop. So I feel like that approach and that human connection of being able to physically get in front of someone and tell my story, rather than through a distributor or a third party or a cold call email, has been the most successful lesson I guess I've learned so far.
And would I mean, look, one part of this, you know, so I think that this goes, well, a lot of people are maybe a little bit fearful to try and attempt getting those listings, and sort of maybe think that maybe the D2C route is maybe a little bit less pressure. Were you tempted to kind of say, look, I'm just going to be D2C first, or were you like, no, look, I know this is the route that we've got to go down?
I did, but I also, because I've had 15 years in brand marketing for global brands, so I've worked with lots of different brands across fashion, homewares, and I felt like, especially in the crowded space like supplements is, I didn't want to be part of the race to the bottom. I didn't want to be spending a lot of cash flow I'm yet to have on ads, on Meta, on just funneling that digital experience, which is super expensive, super crowded, and it's also not my personal area of expertise. So I wanted to go where my strengths are and where I know brand marketing really works, is that human connection, is that emotive story, is that truth telling, to say, listen, I'm not just a sales rep who's here to push a trend product on you. This is something that I've developed for 3 years now. Here's why. And this is what it's done for me. Try it for yourself. If it works for your business, great. If not, it's great to meet you. And also, I need to be part of that community. It's been a joy to meet business owners and yoga studios, and everyone you speak to is like, you've got to speak to so-and-so. They do a wellness festival over here. You should speak to these people. They've got this amazing deli. And it's snowballed from there. So I feel like it is all about who you know, and it is all about connection. So I feel like building a business in that way has also given me valuable feedback, because they're able to tell me firsthand what customers are saying, who's coming back and asking for it. And I'm getting bigger learns that way by having that, rather than kind of like a faceless footprint on digital. It could peak and trough month by month, and I would have no idea as to why or have any control over that. So for me, digital is in the future for sure. And obviously it's eCom Collab Club. I will be tapping up everyone I know in your network to help me with that hurdle. But I also felt as well, I don't want to get lost in the swarm of supplement brands that there are on Amazon or pop up on ads all the time. And obviously building my socials, I get targeted constantly with lots of with amazing supplement brands or lots of different founders telling their stories. But I feel like that localized community organic element is where I'm at right now, as well as the D2C. Obviously, you have to have the digital presence as well.
Yeah, because I guess, look, you know, ultimately it will go hand in hand eventually. But I think, you know, the way you're starting here is going to obviously lend itself to strengthening that kind of D2C presence. And I think, you know, in a way, I suppose with the way that obviously outreach is going on, we all get obviously pitched, you know, probably daily on email and LinkedIn, and particularly now with kind of a lot of the, you know, frankly, excuse my French, shit AI outreach that we all get.
100%.
Surely, it makes me kind of feel like, in a way, that probably actually that face-to-face piece, is that in a sense you think maybe a little bit easier? Yes, okay, maybe from a scale point of view, but from a throughput point of view, surely now in terms of 2026, it feels like to me that must be a better way to go.
And also, don't forget those people that discover you in a store setting. All of the struck cards I have next to the product, which are all about what it is, what it contains, what it does for you, also contains a QR code. Also, essentially, hopefully converts to a digital customer who wants to, maybe subscribe and save online, or they recommend through word of mouth, follow me on socials. That's a way of converting that store customer over the first purchase, because maybe it's in a department store they really trust, or they've gone into their favorite cafe, they know the owner, and they're saying, hey, do you want to boost your smoothie today? We've got Motherfungi, and they find me there. Well, they might get that takeaway smoothie, but then they might want to buy a pouch so that they can have it every day at home. So I feel like there's a lot of value in that, which somehow I think can get devalued in the sphere of when we talk about digital and how excited everyone was by Meta and ROAS booms over kind of COVID period. That felt like, performance marketing's everything and everything else can just go by the wayside. Whereas actually I feel like, to your point, in a world of AI, if you can know who you're buying from, why they created it, they can ask me everything under the sun, I can personally go and take the product to them, and then they can retell that story to their customers who trust them. For me, word of mouth is still the most powerful tool that I have in order to grow organically. When I'm at a phase where I've got, hopefully, lots of cash to then supplement with ads and to get that reach, and that's very, very important through digital marketing, of course. But at this phase, I feel like that is the most valuable advice I could give to any founder in the early stages. Is like, get a bag of your product and kind of get over yourself. Like, you have to go and start talking to people. And it was great in terms of like just getting my elevator pitch, because I've spent 3 years behind a screen sipping different samples and building a brand deck. Well, that's great, but you've also got to be able to communicate why you've done something. And that 2 days I spent just going to everyone, made a big database, was like, right, I'm going to hit all of these places. And 90% of them were so receptive. I have their contact details still, or they might be a stockist, or they are a stockist. So I think it's invaluable in that sense as well. Is it's you've got to get out there and start talking about your product to anyone beyond your inner sphere.
Absolutely. I know, and I think look, I've been in the ecom industry for about 10 years now, and I think there are very few people, I think, who do that well, or kind of have the impetus to want to do it. And I think this is what I wanted to ask you about, because obviously, in terms of starting the business, you started because obviously the experience you went with in terms of burnout and anxiety. If you think about that early success that you had in terms of what drove that success, how much of that do you think comes from the passion within you, because of obviously you were genuinely solving your own problem, versus actually just kind of executing well as a founder?
I think it's 100% down to my personal experience. I'd never had any designs on creating my own product or brand. I'd been in brand marketing, like I've said, for 15 years with lots of global brands, from really small founder brands to global entities. So I've seen it on each side of the dice, and I never looked at the founders I worked with. I thought they were all incredible, but I was also like, thank God this is you. Like this isn't my baby. So I didn't really have any designs on that. But then through obviously working really hard and experiencing like a burnout, and it was completely work related, I just burnt the candle and became genuinely I'm a very confident person. I've never experienced anything like it. And I think that's what really shook me to my core, was like, everyone, I hear of burnout, I see memes about it, I see posts about it, but genuinely, I just thought people are just tired and stressed, whereas I literally couldn't function. I didn't recognize myself at all. And it was really, really scary. And I couldn't believe that when the doctor said, it's your cortisol, your nervous system is shot. like it's gone into shock. So that's what you're experiencing. I was dumbfounded. I genuinely didn't believe that that's what burnout was. And obviously took months to recover and all the rest of it. But during that time, I obviously was prescribed medication, and obviously I'm not dissing that for anyone. You can have very successful and very and people extremely happy with their medication till the end of life. Like there's absolutely no shame in that at all. But for me personally, it made me feel a lot worse. And then it worried me about having to be on something that's medicated and pharmaceutical forever or indefinitely, and then being fearful that I wouldn't function without it. So I was like, what's the other alternative here? And I'm a documentary geek, and I love, have you seen Fantastic Fungi?
Oh, yes.
I was obsessed. Did you not watch that and be like, oh my God?
Incredible, absolutely incredible. I mean, there's a few others. I mean, like there's things like Dope Sick as well, which obviously, yeah. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this, I think.
Honestly, if you've got any recommendations, send me afterwards, because I found it absolutely mind-blowing. And that's where the root of the idea came from. That was like, okay, well, let me give this a go. What are adaptogens? What does that even mean? And adaptogens are called that in the very sense that they help your body adapt with consistent use over time to your stress and your nervous system response. So for me, that was kind of like a key term moment. I was like, oh, like we're so taught in obviously society and the way we grow up about stimulants, and you know, you have a glass of wine to chill out, or have a caffeine, like have a coffee every day to get you going. But we very rarely talk about things that can, with consistent use, can naturally help your body's reaction and help you in a really positive way to just regulate and be more balanced. And it's wild to me that seems like this big secret, or that it's only now sort of being talked about. And obviously that's only in the Western world. Eastern, you know, in the Far East, they've known about the benefits of adaptogens and functional mushrooms for thousands and thousands of years. It's only now that I feel like modern science is starting to unwrap those papers of evidence, and people are starting to take note.
Absolutely. And I think it's that general, there's a very big movement, isn't the moment, about people sort of, you know, especially on social media, talk about awakening, you know, and kind of realizing the fact that certain things that they maybe thought were helping them are not. And I don't know whether this is kind of, you know, related in a way, and I guess it probably is that I feel in a way, you know, because you and I are quite similar in that sense of, look, I actually have depression and I do medicate for it, but I'm trying to come off that medication by looking for different things that can help me that are more natural.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, you know, kind of with functional mushrooms, it still feels like a category to me where there's the kind of this air of confusion. What would you say at the moment is still kind of the biggest misconception you think the end consumer has about mushrooms? And as obviously, you know, with your business head on, how do you then get over that? So
the biggest misconception I get is constantly, are they magic? That everyone wants to think that like it's hallucinogenic, or there's something, you know, hippy dippy about it. So I think that's a hurdle. I also think when I've done sampling events, which has been amazing as well, getting those stockists, I've been able to go and locally be there with samples of protein shakes, smoothies, juices, coffees, and have it pre-mixed. People try it, and the one thing that they ask me before they try it is like, I don't like mushrooms. Is it going to taste like mushrooms? Like, no. Excuse me. And that's, to be honest with you, the gap I saw when I got really into it. I was like, brilliant, I want to try this. Everything on the market was pre-mixed with caffeine, or, you know, coffee, and or flavored. So there's like a very successful brand out there. It's like chocolate flavored space dust, and then there's like, functional mushrooms mixed with coffee. And it's like, I don't want a coffee. I don't want caffeine. I also don't want a chocolate drink. I don't want a ginger drink. I just want something that's flavorless, that doesn't have any sugar, doesn't have any stimulants in it, doesn't have any crap, and that I can trust and 100% just whack it into whatever I want to drink in the morning, whether that's a protein shake, a coffee, a smoothie, I want to put it in juice, whatever it is. Like I sprinkle it on my yogurt and fruit, you know, like something that I can just have however I want to take it. that doesn't create this other faff, and is just so adaptable to whatever I want, and it contains exactly what I want it to contain, rather than fillers and fluff and loads of ingredients you've got no idea what they are, or really badly underdosed, which was very interesting when I kind of went down the rabbit hole and looked in the mycology diploma and spoke to the industry experts. The amount of crap out there is incredible, and unless you really look into it and scratch the surface, you really wouldn't know. You'd think, oh, I'm buying something of substance here, and it's like 10, 20 pounds cheaper than what I'm seeing on, bestseller brands. But the reason is that it's not doing anything for you.
I think, the thing for me here as well is that, do you feel like in a way that consumers are becoming more informed? And I guess sort of want to do you think there's this kind of sense of like taking back ownership of what you're consuming and not having to have everything that, like you say, is mixed? There seems to be this kind of move towards a purity, I think. Is that what you see?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's more skepticism than ever around kind of sweetened or flavored, or I think that people are a lot more aware about filler agents in things. And when I was in the development phase, there was a big trend towards gummies. So a lot of people like came out with functional gummy mushrooms, or gummies with other supplements in them. And I questioned that with the people I was working with, and they were like, well, actually they're really underdosed, like they're actually bullshit, because they have more gelatin and agents in them to create that sweet and that pastel than it does any kind of functional ingredient. So it's pointless. So I feel, and I think a lot of people still pop gummies and feel like they're doing something good for themselves every day. I just think the noise in the market is something that is definitely going to be a hurdle and a challenge for me, in order to try and kind of overcome that and to spread the kind of truth. And the reason, like I did a powder, for example, rather than, hey, why don't you just do a capsule that you can just swallow? Why do you have to go to the effort of making it flavorless and something that dissolves effortlessly into whatever you're having? Well, that's also because I want it to be the highest potency of dosage you can have. If you have a teaspoon of something, that is going to be more potent than having a product which has to have a smaller amount of product in it in order to fit into a capsule that's comfortable to swallow. But equally as well, you then have the casing. So the dosage gets smaller and smaller because you're having to have it in a case and you have to have it small enough to swallow. Whereas the teaspoon is maximum for me and is beneficial. But also, unless you get into a conversation into the weeds like we are, it's hard to get that on a packet. It's hard to tell that to someone on an A4 strut card,
But I think that's the thing that I wanted to ask you about, actually, because I suppose on that note, look, ultimately the confusion that comes there, for me, it feels like that comes from a place of fear, doesn't it? Because ultimately, like you say, the question about, magic mushrooms and all that kind of stuff. And, with about 3 seconds of research, obviously you find out that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I think, that we work with a lot of kind of, sort of food businesses. We work with kind of, skincare brands, anything. I think, look, ultimately you're putting into your body or onto your body, you have to obviously give this kind of level of comfort to allow people to buy.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you kind of learn in the very early stage? And obviously appreciate, like, you're only a few months in, but was there anything as like big gaps that some of the retailers said, look, actually, you need to talk about this thing on the packaging, or you need to have this in your copy, whatever it might be?
I worked closely with my suppliers on that, because obviously the last thing I ever wanted to do is have any kind of misinformation, or obviously the big thing in supplements category is overclaiming on benefits, and that is absolutely something that I do not want to do. Supplements are designed to be part of a healthy lifestyle. They're designed to boost your system. They're not designed to prevent or cure anything. So that was super important to me, and I think also I never want to pretend to be like a scientist. I'm not. I'm someone who's passionate about the category. It's worked for me, and I've also gone on to kind of study it with a diploma and kind of research as much as I can and work with the best people that I know to be the nutritional experts at the heart of the manufacturer of this. But I feel like from a retail point of view, it does present a challenge. I mean, digitally, you can you can bombard and you can create lots of assets which create that hierarchy of messaging and the benefits and the usage and the ingredients and the detail through, email marketing as well is brilliant for that. You can give them a whole series of how it can work. I think the challenge is on the shop floor where someone just walks past a packet. They might like the design of it, but then it's like, oh, it's a mushroom coffee. Oh, it's going to taste like mushrooms. Oh, I don't know what that is. I've heard of lion's mane, but what's chaga and cordyceps? It's very, very different to obviously me speaking about it in person and doing those sampling events where people are like, oh, great, get it, cool. So I think that is a big challenge in that hierarchy of messaging and marketing when you've got 5 seconds if someone picks something up and turns it around, looks at it, looks at the price, and then they just make a split decision. But from my career in brand marketing, that's why I feel like storytelling and community and organic growth is the first step for me, because once you get that trust, once you build those reviews online, then you convert the wider group who might be a bit more cynical. If I find the people who are already aware of functional mushrooms, who are already in those spaces, like the yoga classes, they come out and they see Motherfungi, they grab one because they're like, oh, I know functional mushrooms, cool. Why start with the doubters? Try and start, you converted, and then build out through word of mouth and clever marketing and the digital space from that point. But I think also like the adaptation market, it's estimated to be around 690 million by 2030. And it was around 290 million in 2022. That's just the UK. And 1 in 5 adults have used a natural supplement to boost their well-being. So I think there's this cognitive shift towards that rat race stimulant lifestyle where it's like caffeine and stress is sort of my calling card of being really, great at my job, and like, oh, I'm so good, I'm going to LinkedIn every day and I'm just going to take another espresso and I'm going to show how hard I'm working, and like, oh, look at me, I'm working all weekend. Like that used to be a signal of success. And we are so far away from that. And it's fascinating to me how quickly that shifted over the last 5 years. Now that is not a sign of success. That's a sign of you're being taken the piss out of and your lifestyle's wrong. Now it's about how well do you look after yourself? Do you have spare time to regain balance? Do you have time to look after your mental health? Are you interested in things that are going to help you, create better habits or just feel better by taking something more natural? So that's where I felt like the opportunity. Luckily, when obviously horse had already bolted, I was like, I want to do this brand. But then I looked back and was like, what's actually, oh, shit, I should probably look at the market. What is it? And I was like, oh, it stacks up. Good.
So no, I haven't just gone and done a quick outfit change, which much I'd like to, but this is an ad. Now, as many of you know, when I'm not interviewing e-commerce legends, like on this very show today, I am running Blend Commerce, the CRO Shopify agency. And really over the past 10 or so years, we have been working with over 350 Shopify brands and helping them get customers to buy more, buy now, and buy again. So if you are a brand that is looking at how to make real impact on your Shopify store by increasing your revenue per session, well, we're the guys to talk to. And recently, we've just been crowned the Global CRO Agents of the Year 2026. Now, if you want to know exactly where you guys are from perspective of buy now, buy more, and buy again, all you need to do is go ahead to blendcommerce.com and click on the top right-hand corner where you will see a link to CRO benchmarks. In there, you can enter some details and we'll tell you exactly where you are and what you need to do.
Now, talking of LinkedIn, you've actually led me very well into this next question, because there is a word that I see on LinkedIn which people seem to use a bit of a badge of honor, and that is omni-channel. So, yeah. And it gets bound about a lot. And I think what I'm interested from your point of view is you've obviously started with a retail focus first of all, and then it will go then obviously towards the D2C side. In your mind, what's going to be the biggest hurdle and the biggest difference, I suppose, between the retail side and the D2C side?
So I think the biggest challenge is obviously it's great to get over, the hurdles of being in stores and stockists, but of course, to maintain that, and you've got to have proof of concept for their customers, and that you get those second orders. So that's my challenge with retail, is that ensuring that it does gain momentum, it's successful for the retailer, and that they're happy to continue to stock it and push it. And then on the D2C side, I think is a completely different beast. And I feel like I've said before, the category itself is a race to the bottom in terms of digital marketing. I'm sole founder. I don't have any investors at this point. I would like to keep it that way for as long as possible. And for me, I feel like the biggest challenge is going to be the whole subscription model, because I think that is a challenging setup for any consumable business. Everyone's lifestyle changes, their habits change, but equally building that subscription model will guarantee the success of the business in the long run, and guarantee projection, future investment, forecasting, rather than creating kind of a volatile, I've had a wave of customers online because I had an influencer talking about it and now it's gone dead, or I've done a few ads, but that in itself takes a lot of funding in order to reach a kind of comfortable ROAS and a comfortability of where before you start to flatline. So I feel like as online gets more and more expensive, I feel that the challenge with D2C is going to be, how do I show up and become relevant and seen through the algorithm, and whether that's through clever content, partnerships, how do I cultivate a community online which breeds that reach for me, rather than being 100% reliant on growth through ads.
And do you think, with the D2C side, are you going to plan to push again towards the more informed rather than the less informed, like you have done so far?
I feel like, because naturally I'm speaking to those spaces and those businesses who in themselves are keen to do collab content, and like I'm keen to partner with a yoga space on retreats, for example, and we're going to do one about holistic health, and join forces and be like, well, your expertise is the body and mine's like, how do you kind of nourish and supplement that? So there's brilliant ways of tag teaming within those spaces, which then actually in themselves create content, like useful content for people who are informed, who might already follow those channels, but equally will tap into other channels in which those people in the algorithm will be served that kind of content anyway, either from like a local point of view, because geographically it's, say, a Norfolk event I'm doing, or a festival, but then on a wider scale, how do I then use that blueprint of saying, hey, well, listen, I did a collab with this yoga studio, or I did this retreat, or I'm in this store and we did this sampling event, or we did this coffee morning and we did it with a yoga influencer, or we did it with like a workshop, whatever it is. How that then creates a ripple effect, which I believe is quite powerful in order to then speak to the bigger businesses and say, well, listen, I've done, and having worked with quite big brands, they always shark around to small brands, up and coming brands, emerging brands, community-based brands, because they want to tap into what they have, which is rich, highly engaged niche audiences who are primed and feel like they found an uncovered gem. And that's what the big boys want to tap into. So if you can create a really rich niche in your own specialism with localized events, community, and build a portfolio which shows success, both in the physical sense, but creating content from that event, which lives online and creates this hub of activity, you then become beyond a product. You then become something that means something to someone who, or at least it's a valuable piece of content that you can share and be like, oh, look at, this is, we all know about value added content. No one wants to be sold to like an advert anymore. They want to gain something from what they're watching. So it's like, how do you create value beyond a product? It's by showing up in those spaces. It's by working with the people who are within your world, but they don't do exactly what you do.
Because I think like that, on that note, look, we've been pretty positive so far. And I guess, look, what I was interested in is the flip side is, in terms of those collaborations or maybe opportunities you've had where you go, look, actually, there is probably a good growth opportunity with somebody or something here. Is there anything that you've turned down or a route that you haven't gone down? You don't need to throw shade here on anyone in particular, but if there's an example of this, it'd be good to hear, where you've gone, look, actually, you know what, I'm not going to do that thing, or I'm not going to collab with that person because I'm a little bit fearful of obviously the bigger ramifications to the long term of the business.
I feel like purely because of the stage that I'm at, and obviously I've talked about, you know, the power of myself being the vehicle behind telling this, you know, my story and speaking directly to business owners, and physically, you know, taking the product to them and having that conversation. I have been approached and had really exciting conversations with people who are incredibly experienced and super impressive CVs, and you know, wildly beyond anything I could have ever imagined at this point, offering to help that placement within wholesale and to kind of, you know, grow it and scale that stockist side quickly, because they can see the grassroots, they can see that there's traction there, and they're, you know, in purely being like, I can help you do this quicker, faster, bigger. And at the moment for me, there's just some gut instinct which is saying the reason for the success so far is having those conversations and being the contact and the personal outreach. Only at this moment, obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that forever, and I hope the business grows and commercially much more. You know, I'd have to step away from doing that day to day and that outreach. But for me right now, something in me is saying, you know, I haven't built that massive community yet. I don't have that massive customer base yet. I feel like I'm the one that needs to go out there and sell it and tell. Yeah. And sell the brand myself, rather than sort of losing it with a third party contact, which, you know, they'll never be able to speak to it in the way I can. And I want the people that I sell through to know me personally and be their point of contact at this point. I really do. So yeah.
Now, and I think, look, that it sometimes does happen, doesn't it? Is that you have a brilliant person like yourself, you know, who starts a business and it starts off very well, but if you dilute that too much too early, you kind of haven't got enough on the tank to then rely upon the community or the personal persona that you've built up. Because, you know, look, let's face it, look, content really doesn't really last in people's minds that long, and you have to have quite a big bank of it, I guess, to be able to then be the public face of a business without then obviously doing the graft, really, I suppose.
Definitely. I mean, also, I have got no designs for being an influencer. I don't even have a personal Instagram account. It genuinely took me like 3 months to film like an intro to the brand video, which made me feel sick because I was wandering around my local park with a mini mic trying to explain about my burnout and make enough clips that didn't make me want to puke to cut up into something which was like, just like, get over yourself. You've got to explain your brand. You're happy to like go pop into that cafe and tell someone all about it. It's no good if you can't tell people online and on socials. And I know the name of the game. Like this is a career for me. So I know, you know, all the founder content I've ever done in my life has been much more successful than any of the content we've spent weeks mulling over and tweaking. And, you know, it just human storytelling, relatability and understanding the person behind the product is also always going to be more powerful. So I still need to get over that a little bit.
Yeah, join the club. I'm still trying as well. I mean, I've actually been recording some YouTube shorts today, and yeah, I've got some brilliant bloopers that I will not see the light of day.
Yeah, you know, you're bumbling into the camera and you're like, what am I even talking about anymore? Like, what's my name? What am I saying? Like, this is insane.
What do I do? What do I sell? Yeah. You have a mind blank, don't you?
Yeah, it's horrible. I need to get over it.
Oh, love it. I was going to ask also, I suppose, sort of like broaden out a little bit here is, we talked at the start, obviously, about the category and obviously about some of the things that obviously people say and they ask about. If you think about your competitor and maybe, you know, your biggest competitor now, is it another mushroom brand? Is it a cafe? Is it a coffee? Is it an energy drink? You know, or is it more habits that you see that people have as a competitor? Like, where's the biggest, sort of threat? If you're in a SWOT analysis, who will be sat in that threat section mostly out of that group?
I think there's some really strong competitors who are just synonymous with functional mushrooms in the field. So in any category, that's going to be the case. There's always going to be big boys out there that are established, that people trust, they know about it. The good thing for me is that when I've done these sampling events, the people that are aware of those people and have had those products, it didn't work for them for the same reasons it didn't work for me, which gives me validation every time. I'm like, yes, I was right to start this. Because they were like, I didn't want a coffee, I didn't want caffeine, I didn't like the flavor, all of this stuff. So they might have bought it once like I did, but they discarded it because it didn't work for them, or it was missing the USPs that I have. So that gives me actually quite a lot of comfort, rather than being fearful of the shadows of being these big, very successful brands. They're in Selfridges, they're doing all this, they've obviously got lots of investment, they're doing incredibly well, and that's great for people that customers that love what they do. For me, there is, even in these early days, evidence that isn't for everyone, and there are people that believe in the function, they want to have the mushrooms. Lots of people, the brilliant thing about it is that I'm not also looking to tap into any particular market, and I think some of the functional brands really zone in on like TikTokers and Gen Z through their branding, the influencers that they work with, their tone of voice, the advertising, like it's all very teen focused, whereas I absolutely am not that. I hope people think that the branding is cool, but my muse is like the Greek gods Asclepius and Hygeia, and it's all about cool branding. I hope, like Motherfungi, I hope other people love the name as much as I do, and it's also about, I wanted to create a brand that's for everyone else. I didn't want to create more in a crowded category and be a cleaner than clean, preachy, spandex wearing, minimalist brand. There's plenty of them. I want to be the supplement brand for everyone else who's like, have a Motherfungi in your coffee, or have a just, you can be anyone at any age. And also people I've spoken to, from stockists to my own family, like menopausal women hear of lion's mane because they've been told by doctors or friends that that's a really good supplement to have at that stage. Also, like my own dad, he obviously completely biased, but swears by it, loves it, and that's really helped him with like focus and like mobility. And I feel like everyone has lots of pop-ups of these supplement brands, which are very kind of targeted at certain markets. But I feel like actually those competitors give me comfort in the fact that I don't want to be them, and I'm not doing what they do. And to your point, I feel like the ritual thing is the hardest like barrier to get over, because everyone can have the best intentions in the world, but we're all human. If you don't keep up with the whole supplements, and you might buy something once and then you think, oh yeah, it was amazing, but then you forget to buy it again and you just fall out of habit. I feel like that's the hardest thing in the space.
Absolutely. I mean, look, one thing I would say, as well, George, like talking to you today, I think what I really get and understand from you is that you're very focused on the outcome and the experience that you want people to have off the back of the product. And I think, if you look obviously within the space, and like you mentioned there are some that approach very differently of, look at this shiny thing, look at this packaging, et cetera, and focus less on the experience and the outcome that you want people to have. And I suppose in a way like that, for me, it feels like that it feels like you get confidence from that, because you genuinely believe in it and you've experienced it. I imagine that probably then just helps you keep pushing, doesn't it?
Absolutely, because I feel like also one of the hardest things with those competitors, they might have created a really like loads of flavorings, got some sugar in it, it's also got caffeine in it, therefore it's not really a shocker that it makes people feel alert and focused, because guess what, it's like you're having a chocolate coffee. It might have some mushrooms sprinkled in it, but like and then people will rave about it and share it and all of that stuff. Whereas the hardest blocker for me is by saying that mine doesn't have a stimulant in it. It's not going to force your body to react in a certain way. You actually have to have it consistently. Optimum is 3 and 4 weeks of daily usage. So it really is a bit of a commitment, but that's why I wanted to create something you can put in anything. It's not going to affect the flavor. You can mix it in, forget about it, take it, and hopefully the build up is the cumulative effect of adaptogens and functional mushrooms. Mine also does contain 100% of your daily B, C, and D vitamins, just saying, and some pea protein. So it's not just mushrooms. It has 2 plant adaptogens in it as well. And the whole reason and my brief to the supplier was that I want to create high quality, potent, and a well-rounded ultimate morning blend that isn't about buzzword ingredients. It's about a collaboration of ingredients that are going to be effective. Initial reaction has been great, but I also really hope genuinely that it helps people as much as it has me.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, and you said we talked obviously a lot about the present, and I think that the last question I want to ask you is obviously more forward focused. Is that if you kind of fast forward to maybe say 3 years down the line, what for you has to be true for you to say that Motherfungi has become the business that you originally imagined when you started it?
I hope it's still going.
Don't we all?
It's so, I mean, honestly, I never knew how expensive and, there's every day there's something else in doing your own thing, but obviously that's also a gift. I think in order for it to be what I set out for it to be is almost in answer to my previous question, I want to have created a really loyal customer base where they are talking about it and they swear by it and it's part of their routine. And they then talk about the benefits of functional mushrooms to other people and are as excited and raving about those benefits as I am, because otherwise what's the point? I've worked for, like I've mentioned, I've worked for many brands, and I've been in the room countless times where I'm like, what's the point of that product? Why? Why is this being made? What's the point in the resource behind it? It's just pointless to me. Whereas everything that I create personally, and I hope to create other blends, I've got an evening blend which is ready to go. And actually, I'm going to make that a capsule format because I personally don't believe that no one wants to drink a drink at night because you don't want to get up and go to the loo. And I want to create the best capsule that you can have at night, which has got magnesium, tremella, reishi, and those calming mushrooms, which help you reset and recover overnight. So I want to create a business which genuinely is part of people's everyday, and that they can be confident and happy that there isn't any bullshit in it. And it really is what it says on the tin, and they feel the effects of it. Of course, I'd like it to be commercially successful as well. That would be great.
Just that small thing on top.
Just a little cherry on the top, Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, Georgie, look, I've loved having you on today, and I just want to thank you, obviously, for sort of A, sharing so much, B, just being so honest, and obviously giving us the lowdown on everything. And I think also maybe for people that were not obviously knowing anything about functional mushrooms, have certainly learned something today. But I think, look, before you do go, obviously, if we have people listening who obviously are wanting to buy, so D2C, or maybe are buyers from different retail setups, what should they do? Where should they go? So
motherfungi.com. Find me there. Also on socials at motherfungi with an underscore at the end. This is the brand you're looking out for. There she is.
There we go. Beautiful. And yeah, look, it's a great looking site, and I love, like you said, the references you have. Oh yeah, personally, big fan. So Georgie, thank you so much for being on with us. And guys, thank you so much for listening. If you have liked what you've listened to today, do give us a like or review on the listening platform of your choice. And we'll be here again same time next week with the eCom Collab Club Podcast. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the eCom Collab Club Podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join our community at ecomcollabclub.com/community.